family. You know, my father was a minister, my mother was a church pianist. Very loving, but first when they thought I was gay, and then when I came out that I was going to transition, it devastated them, and they could not deal with it. They told me to get out, and it hurt me a lot. You know, one of my sort of set of challenges in life has been to not become bitter, and I tend to smile a lot and be light and all that, but there is bitterness there too that one has to fight. And finally, 25 years later, this year, where I had not spent more than an hour a year in my parents' company, I brought my mother out to stay with me in Hollywood, and for the first time she called me she called me Callie, and it was a real moment of progress that I never thought would come from this religious, country, uneducated minister's wife. You know, she made the effort, and I guess if anything that just says that miracles do happen, because it's still not easy though. I know the minute the phone goes down, they go back to calling me by my birth male name, and they use male pronouns and all that, but I've chosen to take what little I can before they die, because they're getting older and older. And I don't have to do that, but I just chose to take what little good I can with them now. The family you choose, the family you make for yourself, really gives you that strength to not have to humiliate and subjugate your identity. You know, you can kind of force your biological family to come back to you on your own terms, and I'm sure everybody has their stories, you know, of similar struggles. I've known a few friends whose parents were like, oh, thank God, you know, you're gay, or oh my God, I love having a daughter now, or whatever, and that's makes me jealous. There's been a big language debate in the trans community, especially in the U.S., and I've heard a little bit about what's been going on over here as well, and I've been quite controversial to some folks in that the way I describe how I feel is that I advocate for people's rights to self-identify. I don't advocate for people's rights to call me a particular thing that I don't want to be called, because I don't identify, you know, that there are certain words out there that I'm perfectly comfortable saying them because I grew up in the years that they were kind of created. I grew up, you know, in the LGBT plus community. That came out of the world that I came up in. So I'm not afraid of those words, but I do understand that to a lot of people they've recently especially become huge incendiary touch points. I advocate, especially there are poor, there are uneducated, there are minority trans people who are out there on the streets, who are doing sex work to survive, who, you know, have no resources. If they want to reclaim a word from pornography, or if they want to reclaim a word that comes out of the 60s or 70s underground fetish scene or whatever, then I don't care. I think they have every right to, and that's my position. Not everybody agrees, but it's a strange spotty quilt of what's okay, because it's like in the US right now, queer is totally cool. There's like, you know, queer student groups and everything, but that was a terrible slur a generation before. But these other words that were okay 5 years ago, now it's like they're shutting down, you know, things over it. And I'm a transgressive kind of person. I have a body sense of humor. You know, this stuff doesn't really bother me unless someone is trying to hurt my feelings. And if I can tell you're trying to hurt my feelings, whatever you're saying, then I will prickle up and things might go a different direction. But for me, I've just tried to explain my position on it. You know, I advocate for people's rights to identify themselves as they choose and try to be respectful of everyone else's right to do that for themselves as well. Other people have other positions that they've argued with me at length in the media. I've done a lot of writing for U.S. magazines, and you can read all that at calpernia.com if you're interested. The links are all there.
Do you think that as we have our younger people come through that there is broader hope?
I hope so. I really do. In the last year or two, though, I have seen some discouraging trends in the youth of the LGBT plus community. And a bit of that is that I'm becoming a bit of an old lady, and I'm sure, it's like kids today. They don't know how easy they have it. And I know I didn't listen to that when I was in my 20s, so they're probably not going to listen to me now. But there are some young people out there that I just want to shake and say, look, in the 70s, you would have been killed just for walking down the street, and now you want to quibble about this or that little thing. But they have to fight their battles too. They have to draw their lines in the sand too. And I guess it's my challenge to not back down from what I believe, but to try to see, where they're coming from. I do have hope, though. We have children allowed to explore their gender identities at ever younger ages now. We have laws relaxing and releasing for our legal documentation as trans people, for our marriage rights, for our access to medical care. It's really encouraging in that way. Maybe I am going to evolve into some scold who tells kids, don't forget how these rights were won. Don't forget what people had to do so that you can transition in the first grade. But I don't want to I don't want to be that mean old crone about it. So I'll figure that out. I've got a lot of my own things to figure out too, I guess.
Go on, tell me about Nicole.
Well, she smells like fresh cut oranges, and her hair is like spun gold with copper and stars. Frank Pearson, who directed Soldier's Girl, he was the head of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which is the academy that throws the big Oscars ceremony to hand out Academy Awards and Oscars and everything. So in Hollywood, he's kind of like a kingmaker as well. And Soldier's Girl was being inducted into the American Film Institute as one of their top films. And Nicole wanted to be, or Nick as I call her. She wouldn't remember me from anything. But she and Frank were talking about doing a film together, and I don't think that ended up happening because Frank's health declined and he ended up passing away. But I got to sit and have dinner with her and talk. And my business partner Andrea James had a super crush on Nicole Kidman that she used to talk about all the time, never thinking that we'd get to meet her. And I was like, I'm going to make Nicole take a picture with you. And she's like, no. And I was like, oh, Nicole, is there any way in the world I could get you to take a picture with my friend Andrea? And she was like, oh, sure. And we, took a picture together, and she gave us a hug, and she was very sweet. Very nicely. Yes. There's, of course, Orange is the New Black made a huge splash last year when Laverne Cox was on the cover of Time magazine and had done some big press stuff. Another show that's happening right now, also on Amazon.com, which is becoming like its own television network, is called Transparent. And it stars Jeffrey Tambor, who's a very established, older, cisgender, that word still doesn't roll off my tongue, but an older cisgender actor who's playing the lead, Mara. And again, we're still pushing towards that, wonderful day when we will get first crack at playing ourselves as trans people. But they cast Jeffrey Tambor. The series started getting a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people were like, oh, this is really good. This is written well, it's acted well. And Jill Soloway, the creator of the series, very quickly started getting educated on trans issues in a way that she hadn't been when she started writing the show. Her father transitioned, Jill Soloway, which is the inspiration for Maura. And so Jill thought she kind of got it because, you know, she had gone through the transition with her father, who's now her second mother. But as soon as Jill started learning more about the trans community, she hired Zachary Drucker and Zachary's partner, who are both trans people, as consultants. They brought in Alexandra Billings, who's an older, fantastic trans actress out of the Chicago theater scene, who's now a theater teacher. They brought her in to play Maura's lover. The staff of the show, the crew, a lot of those people are trans. They just hired a trans woman to join the writers' team. Her stage name is Our Lady J. She's an amazing pianist, actually, as well.